Well, good afternoon, everybody. 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. I am Brian Wilson. I am your friend and radio buddy, and I'm ready to rock for 4 solid hours to bring you news and information you can use so that you arrive home at the end of the day well-informed. You can move right on to, pulling weeds in the garden or whatever it is you want to do. We'll get you going here. A couple of things, of course, that, the big story today is that there are going to be now at least 2 debates. I think that's probably all we're going to get. And it will be between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. RFK has been told, sorry, you need not apply here. And we'll get into that, I promise you, in a great way at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. Because I have a lot to say about that, and I think maybe you have a lot to say about that. Let me move on, though, to the story I'd like to start with. It's a story that you're not going to hear in many places. You're just not going to hear about this, but I think this is the kind of stuff that we need to be paying attention to, because I think over at the Biden administration, there are people who are looking around and saying, it's beginning to occur to them they may not get a second term. And I think what they're trying to do, normally you would do this in your second term. You would wait to do things like this because, they could crop up and become campaign issues, and you don't want that. But I think they've decided, we better get some stuff across the goal line here before we get run out of Dodge. And I think that they're doing a lot of hanky stuff through the process of rules and regulations and changing this and changing that through executive order. This is a perfect example, and this is bad for government, and it's bad for America. Let me get into it. This is from thefederalist.com. The Biden administration is changing a rule that basically would undo the ability of government managers to fire employees who are simply underperforming or are subversive in some way. In other words, Donald Trump set up a rule that said all employees are basically that are over policy decisions are Schedule F employees, and they can be fired at will, just like in most companies around them. Unless you have some kind of contractual relationship with your company, you can pretty much be fired at will. That's the way it works. And so that's the incentive is, that you go in and you work hard and you get a paycheck. And in return for that, they need to understand that you're going to be there and you're going to be a good and loyal employee. And the moment that they decide that you no longer are a good and loyal employee, they have the ability to release you. That makes it work. The Biden administration is changing the rules for government who were already incredibly impossible to fire. They're making it even harder. And what this does is it protects the deep state. If you think firing poorly performing federal employees is hard, you're not alone. Most federal employers agree. Now President Biden has made this problem worse. New regulations will make the dismissal of poor performing and or subversive employees even more difficult. The rule reinforces removal restrictions and prohibits the reclassification of federal bureaucrats. This broad regulatory change was built specifically to block the reinstatement of Trump-era reforms. The deep state will soon become even less accountable. You see, the federal employee dismissal process is broken. Agencies take 6 months to a year to remove poor performers, followed by lengthy appeals that often result in reinstatement with back pay. If the employee wins, agencies must typically cover their attorney's fees at rates of $400 to $1,000 an hour. And that makes removing employees for even the worst offenses expensive and uncertain. I'll give you an example. The Department of Justice suspended 2 prosecutors who withheld exculpatory evidence from a U.S. senator's defense team. The federal judge overseeing the case said he had never seen such a mishandling or misconduct. Nevertheless, the prosecutors appealed and got the suspensions overturned on a technicality. The government restored 2 months of back wages and paid out, are you ready, $643,000 in attorney's fees. This dysfunction is all too common. Removing problematic employees is difficult at every federal agency. Just 0.5% of tenured federal employees were fired in 2023 for poor performance or misconduct. Surveys show the federal government themselves and federal employees themselves object to this system. Half report chronic poor performance in their unit, and most don't believe that their agency effectively addresses poor performers. Fewer than half of federal career supervisors feel confident they could dismiss an employee for serious misconduct. What kind of environment is this to work in? Just a quarter believe they could remove a poor performer. Federal employees recognize that the system is broken. It empowers the bad actors. It is not uncommon for career employees to inject partisanship, of course, into their official duties. Such partisanship is particularly evident during the Trump administration. The press widely reported on career employees opposing the president's policy. Some even boasted about their resistance. Many career bureaucrats acted as though they, not officials or presidential appointees, should set policy. Most Americans recognize unelected bureaucrats have too much control over federal policy. The deep state is real, and it's a serious challenge to our democracy. Boy, do I agree with that. So here comes President Trump, right? He addresses these problems with an executive order creating something known as Schedule F for career officials in policy-influencing jobs. The order made them at-will employees. Just like the private sector workers, without removal restrictions, Schedule F gave agencies the ability to effectively and quickly address poor performance or misconduct. At the same time, the order continued protections against politically motivated or discriminatory removals. Schedule F was designed with a successful state-level reforms in mind. Most states have state employees are at-will employees. These reforms have generally shown positive results without the feared abuses materializing. Texas and Florida, two of America's three most populous states, have embraced at-will employment. Their state governments operate quite well. Schedule F would have expanded these successes nationally. Well, despite Schedule F's potential, President Biden revoked it shortly after taking office. His administration has now issued a new rule designed to prevent a future administration from bringing back Schedule F. The new regulations reinforce career employee removal restrictions and prohibit reclassifying career employees into an at-will status. Federal bureaucrats who inject partisanship into their duties will remain hard to dismiss, and so will chronic poor performers. Why in the world would you set up a system where you reward poor performance? I mean, it's like you get a government job, then you just sit on your ass the rest of the time and just bring in that pay, and they can't do a dang thing about it. Why would you ever want to support that? Why wouldn't you want government to be efficient? Why wouldn't you want the employees of the government to be motivated to do their jobs well? No, in the federal government, you can just, you get in, and you get in sometimes, because of your partisan beliefs or your partisan positions, and then you just stay there for life, soaking the very lifeblood out of what should be a vibrant government. The Biden administration's rule cements major flaws in the federal workforce. The rule protects poor performers and bureaucratic resistance. It seems designed to ensure the deep state will remain unaccountable to the president and, of course, to the American people. This is how they protect people. Everybody has forgotten. Even presidents tend to forget that they are the employees and we, the people, are the employers. The government exists, because we allow it to exist. The Biden administration's rule cements major flaws. Every government employee recognized the federal dismissal process is broken. President Biden's new rule will make it harder to fix, and that's not good for America or democracy. I remember one time I said jokingly, and it was true. I worked in a newsroom where I had 9 news directors, and I think it was, is that right? 9 news directors no, that's not right. But it was like in a very short period of time, I had a great number of news directors who came, stayed about 6 months, and left. This was at Channel 5 in Washington. And everyone would come in, and every news director would want to put their change in place. And as an employee, we all sat back. And about 6 months later, that person would wash out, and a new person would come in, and then would be this whole thing again. Well, I want to make some little changes here and little changes there, because every news director had to put their imprint on what was going on in the newsroom. And finally, I think it was 6 news directors in like 2 years. It was ridiculous. And the joke became in the newsroom, well, news directors, they come, news directors, they go, but the staff endures. I mean, it was really, it was a good staff, and they didn't really need a lot of managing on the whole, when you really look at it. But I mean, it was sort of a joke. But the same could be said of the federal government. Presidents come, presidents go. But the deep state endures. And I'm telling you, it is real. It is real. It is not a positive force to have. You say, well, you got a very steady workforce. There's not a lot of volatility in that workforce. They stay forever. But the fact of the matter is, they become untouchable. And the moment you have any company where an employee is untouchable and that person is not performing up to the standards that everyone else expects, I mean, believe me, there are good federal employees who care deeply about doing the right thing. And they are frustrated beyond belief by the people who sit in the corner and agitate and are subversive and don't perform, and nothing happens to them. I tell you, in your workplace, if you got a guy who's not pulling his weight, it really hurts morale, doesn't it? Everybody else is pulling their weight, but this guy just slides by, and nothing ever happens. It irritates you. Well, that's what happens in the federal government. That's why I think so many federal government, they give up after a while. Schedule F was a good thing. And what they're trying to do is fix it so that if Trump gets in, he's going to have to, I guess, go back to Congress and get an act of Congress to change it. But this is bad. And you've got to be on the watch for this kind of stuff, because right now, the Biden administration is doing everything they can, because honestly, they're on alert that they may not get a second term. And, and they're going to do everything they can to subvert, number one, an incoming president like Donald Trump. They're going to bury their people deep, and then you won't be able to touch them. You won't be able to fire them, and if you want to go through that process, you're talking about a near impossible process to get a federal employee fired. Look, I don't think that employers should go around firing employees willy-nilly. I really don't. I think that in a workplace, it should be a mutually beneficial arrangement. The employer hires you, and you do something that is productive and helpful for your employer, and in return, your employer gives you a paycheck. But if you're giving somebody a paycheck, and by the way, this paycheck comes from our money, your money and my money, and that person is sitting on their ass doing nothing, or doing things that are actively subversive or agitating a situation, rather than being somebody who's a positive force in an organization, well, the Biden administration wants to keep them around forever. Your government at work. 20 minutes now past the hour. Let me tell you about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They want you to know that there are no pills or spinal creams that can solve your back pain. If you've got back pain in your spinal disc area, there are 2 ways you solve this problem. One is that you undergo the knife. The other is called non-invasive spinal decompression. Now, I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville because I was having problems with my neck and my lower back. And you know what? It worked. It absolutely worked for me. Their state-of-the-art facilities and their high-tech equipment offer the latest non-surgical procedures. Getting better is very important. So Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley are offering half off spinal decompression treatment and half off the KT knee machine. Now, KT machine is sort of like spinal decompression, but it works on the knee. It gently elongates the knee so that the healing therapy can get deep within the tissue. Now, what you get if you have $23 on you and you want to start this process, you get an exam, a consultation, and your first treatment. That's for new patients only. That's right, an exam, consultation, and your first treatment. What have you got to lose except for the pain? I'm Brian Wilson. I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more at paintisbad.com.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
A small plane reportedly crashing in Williamson County. Search and rescue teams out there right now in a wooded area looking at some inflation and then election threats. China, Russia, Iran. Taking a look at it. 3:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, there's Mac Maury with all your news stories. Also the star of the Runaway Hit segment. Mac Maury's wild, wacky, weird world of wonderful sports or something like that.
Yes.
One of these days, we're going to figure out what the title of that segment is. But that's at 5:25 each day where we get a download from Mac. And he knows his stuff. He really does. And then there's Chris Webber in the control room with all the blinky buttons, pushing them and keeping me under control, which is, of course, a full-time job.
Do we need to take over so you can answer that? Is that important?
Well, can you hear my phone ringing?
I can hear it. just a little bit in the background there.
Buzzing? I don't know. It's like everybody in the world is calling me. You know, how you ever sometimes seek out information on the internet and then it triggers like 1,000 people are calling you
I hate
about that thing.
Yep.
Well, that's what I did the other day, and I've lived to regret it. I've been getting about 100 calls a day.
We'd be happy to help you there, sir.
Yeah, I know.
We'd love your business.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not very happy about it. Let's see. I got some stuff I want to talk about here with regard to our area. There's a story, and I bring it to your attention because it reflects upon how we are viewed as a community around the world. The Daily Mail out of the UK has done a story that says homelessness skyrockets in iconic southern city of Nashville, where locals say rich Californians are moving in and driving up property prices. I think that's a bit simplistic, but I think it is. There's a nugget of truth in all of that. Rates of chronic homelessness in the Tennessee capital have soared 77% this year, according to the city's official stats. There are 1,525 people experiencing chronic homelessness, where someone has been homeless for over a year and has a mental health condition or disability. In the city last year at this time, they say it was around 863. So, we've got about, 700 more people coming in to this area, they say, in 1 year. And they say that it's being driven by, and this is true for everyone, and I think it talks about the state of the economy, how difficult it is to find affordable housing. Housing has gone up. I've got a number here. Let's see. Just rent. Let's say you're going to rent. Rent is up since Joe Biden took office, 20.8%. Wow. And, and by the way, real wages have gone backwards about 4.4%. You haven't kept up with the rate of inflation. The what they call real average weekly earnings down 4.4%, while your costs have gone up 20-30% depending on the category. Very serious thing, and I pointed out because I think we spent $50 million on this problem in Nashville, and I don't know that we have put a dent in the problem. And one wonders, what is the reason for that? You get $50 million and you use it effectively. You could build a lot of little mini houses for those little, skinny, or what they call mini houses. You could build a bunch of them for $50 million, but we don't seem to be going that way with it. And then there was this out of Wilson County, which there's a part of me that says I think this is a generous and lovely thing to do, but there's a part of it that raises so many other questions for me. From WKRN, in the span of roughly 3 weeks, the Wilson County community, in partnership with the county's Democrats, have come together to relieve local students of their lunch debt. Nearly $6,000 raised in the community will go towards Zone 5 schools, Lebanon High School, Tucker's Crossroad Elementary, Barry Tatum, etc. Every senior in the school district had their lunch debt paid. Apparently, you cannot graduate if you have a lunch debt. And so they came in and they said, we're going to do this. Well, I think it's a lovely thing, but it raises so many questions. I mean, why are there kids who show up at school? And look, I don't want any kid to go hungry. Absolutely. Let's make sure. I don't want to be accused of that. I want kids to eat. I want kids to have nutrition. But when a kid shows up and they can't pay for lunch and you end up, carrying the tab for that kid, I think there's a question that should be asked about the parents. And we are told that, well, we have to do it because this may be the only meal the kid gets. Why, then, would you not initiate an investigation to find out whether or not the parents are doing what they should do and why they aren't taking care of their kids? I mean, it seems to me that is the bare minimum that we ask of our parents is that we feed their that they feed their children. And they say, well, they don't have any money to feed their children. Well, I bet we can find a lot of things that they do have that they could do without in order to feed their children. So while I applaud the charitable effort, I have real questions about why it is we have so many children in our community that are going without food and need this kind of support when there is a food bank. Every county has got one. Nobody should be going hungry in America today. It is 30 minutes past the hour.
Four o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 73 degrees in Nashville. Dealing with some possible thunderstorms later on this afternoon in Music City. Full weather forecast and that traffic report headed your way in 5 minutes. Today in Tennessee, a small plane reportedly crashed in Williamson County this afternoon in the area of Bending Chestnut Road and Davis Hollow Road. Channel 4's Steve Mailing brings us more.
All resources from William County first responding agencies are dedicated towards search and rescue efforts. They did not say how many people were on board, and they also don't know right now how large the debris field is. But here is what we do know. We know first responders are staged just about a half mile down the road from us. We know the FAA and NTSB are on their way here. Now, the FAA does confirm this was a Beech V-35, which is a small plane. It can seat up to 5 passengers and 1 pilot. And we know the area that first responders are actively searching is a wooded area.
Officials have asked that if you find debris on your property, you call police. Money news, a new readout on the inflation rates show prices rose 3.4% in April. Prices for housing and dining are still high. As for wages, the April jobs report shows wages increased year over year by 3.9%. That's 0.5% faster than the rate of inflation. And intelligence officials say U.S. adversaries are active in meddling in this year's election. Director of the National Intelligence, Avril Haines, spoke to the Senate Intelligence Committee today.
The most significant foreign actors who engage in foreign influence activity directed at the United States in relation to our elections are Russia, are the People's Republic of China, or PRC, and Iran. Specifically, Russia remains the most active foreign threat to our elections.
And that is the latest news here at 3:32. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a Guaranteed Offer and start packing.
Are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? This is a very important question. Could be maybe hard for you to believe, but many hardworking Americans like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You may be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, and any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies and take advantage of them now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost. No pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number. I'll give it to you twice. 615-488-9303. Again, 615-488-9303. Or visit their website, askbeaconnow.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price At checkout, you don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
How you doing on this Wednesday, hump day? We're getting through it. We're halfway through the week. I'm Brian Wilson, halfway through the week and halfway through the month. 15th day of May. So there you go. A lot of halves going on here. And one thing I can promise you, it will not be a half effort here on our part.
Full effort only.
We're going to give you a full effort only.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to talk a little bit about economic news, and people go, oh, and the eyes glaze over. No, this is important stuff. Why? Well, because when you talk about the economy, you're talking about, you have to look at it through the lens of the coming election. I mean, really, honestly, at this point, from now until Election Day, everything you have to look through from the perspective of how it impacts the coming election. And so we had some new numbers out today about inflation. I'll get to that in a moment. Well, let's start with that. U.S. inflation eased slightly in April last month, offering relief to investors. And the Federal Reserve, after a run of economic data at the start of the year, revealed simmering price pressures. Ooh, simmering price pressures. This from the Wall Street Journal. The Consumer Price Index, a gauge for goods and service costs across the U.S. economy, rose 3.4% in April from a year ago. Okay, it rose. But the Labor Department said on Wednesday, core prices that exclude volatile food and energy items climbed 3.6% annually, the lowest increase since April. Now, that's putting a positive spin on it. Yeah, it's the lowest increase we've experienced in a while, but it's still increasing. And what does that mean? I mean, let's blah, 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 words from the federal government. About, inflation may just, wash over you, sort of like, sounds like it coming from Charlie Brown's teacher. But here's what it really means, okay? I mean, this is I, Brian Wilson, will translate for you. Your gas prices, since Joe Biden took office, are up 55.5%. And you know what? When I talk about gasoline, I always have to point out, when you talk about fuel prices going up, diesel going up as well, but I mean, when you talk about fuel prices going up, that is the one thing that ripples across the economy because, almost everything requires, some kind of fuel to get to your place of business. If you buy a product, it had to be delivered by a train or a truck or something or a ship somewhere, and that takes fuel. And so when they have to pay more for fuel to get their stuff delivered and the goods that they need to build their thing delivered, they have to pass that on to you, and that's inflation. Groceries, since Joe Biden took office, up 21.3%. When you go to the grocery store, it costs you about 21% more than it did when Joe Biden took office. Has your salary gone up 20%? No. In fact, real average weekly earnings have gone down 4.4% for most Americans on average since Joe Biden took office. So, in other words, you may have gotten a raise, but you didn't get a 20% raise. I'm betting. If you did, I want to know who your employer is. Eating out, 21.8% more than when Joe Biden took office. Baby food. I mean, boy, you got a new kid, right? You got to feed the baby. Baby food up 30% since Joe Biden took office. Pet food, you got to feed the dog, got to feed the cat. Pet food has gone up 21.3% since Joe Biden took office. Rent has gone up 20.8%. That's right. A lot of people can't afford to buy houses now. They have to rent and have a place to live. And their rent has gone up 20%, almost 21% since Joe Biden took office. Sort of gets back to that story we were talking about earlier. A lot of people are getting priced out of having any place to live. They just can't, they can't get the money. They don't have the money. Utilities. Let's talk about electricity. 28.5% higher now than it was when Joe Biden raised his hand and took the oath of office. Natural gas, up 22%. Natural gas, 22% since Joe Biden took office. Airfare, you want to fly somewhere? Well, good luck. It's going to cost you 20% more. Public transportation, you can't even afford a car, so you have to rely upon public transportation because, that's the only way you can get to work to make a living. On average, in America, since Joe Biden took office, public transportation costs have gone up 26.1%. So between 20 and 30%, just about virtually everything. Gasoline, 55%. That is what it really means to people. And so, this is why the Biden people say, well, inflation is it's reducing. It's not as bad as it was, a year ago. And this is the lowest we've seen inflation go up since 2021. That doesn't mean anything to people. The numbers that I just cited you are what they understand. They understand that going out and making a living is not enough these days. That no matter how hard you work, you can't get ahead. And this is why I think ultimately, at the end of the day, this is why Joe Biden is going to be replaced as president. If you don't have the money, what are you going to do? Well, you do what a lot of people reluctantly, I would think many of them, maybe they don't think about it in great detail. Credit card delinquencies surge. Credit card delinquencies are on the rise as research from the New York Federal Reserve shows nearly a fifth of borrowers are maxed out. According to the new report issued by the bank's Center for Microeconomic Data, household debt rose by 1.1% or $184 billion in the first quarter of the year, bringing the total to $17.69 trillion. In the first quarter of 2024, credit card and auto loan transition rates into serious delinquencies continue to rise across all age groups. It's not just the credit cards, it's the auto loans as well. Joelle Scally, Regional Economic Principal within the Household and Public Policy Research Division at the bank, said in a statement, an increasing number of borrowers missed credit card payments, revealing worsening financial distress among some households. Well, I mean, what are you going to do? You got to feed the baby. You got to feed the kids. You got to put a roof over their head. You got to put clothes on their backs. I mean, you come on. The nationwide aggregate credit card utilization rate was found to be 23% in the first quarter, in line with the previous quarters, but a closer look behind those figures revealed some stark differences in utilization rates. Almost half of borrowers used less than 20% of their available credit in the first quarter, compared to 18% of borrowers who used at least 90% of their available credit. Those people are called maxed out borrowers. In other words, you've maxed out your credit card. You've got nowhere else to turn. 20%. 1 in 5. 1 in 5 people with credit cards are maxed out. That is sad and scary. Younger borrowers were also found to be more likely to be maxed out, as well as card users who resided in low-income areas. The research found that aggregate delinquency rates rose during the first quarter, with 3.2% of outstanding debts in some stage of delinquency at the end of March. Annualized, approximately 8.9% of card balances transition into delinquency. About 9% of credit card balances and about 8% of auto loans now are delinquent. That is not a good trend. Not a good trend at all. You know, America shops at Walmart, they say. I mean, who doesn't love Walmart? I mean, I love it. I think it's great. I like to go there, get anything you want. But according to this story in the Wall Street Journal, it goes on for quite a while, Walmart is under threat. We told you yesterday where they're asking a lot of people to move back to different offices, and they're going to slash their executive suites by some degree. But they are really under the gun, and the reason they're under gun is this little thing called Amazon. Its reign is looking shaky lately if current sales trend persists. Walmart's behemoth size means that to meet its own sales targets of around 4% growth each year, the company has to find an additional $26 billion in sales this year. No easy task. About 90% of Americans already shop at the retailer. Isn't that an amazing statistic? 90% of Americans already shop at the retailer. The pandemic and rising inflation boosted Walmart's revenue by $100 billion since 2019. While Amazon's and Walmart's businesses compete head-on, there are big differences. Amazon earns much of its profit from non-retail operations, such as cloud computing and advertising. They have other things going on. Walmart executives are most wary of Amazon's ability to keep increasing profits through its non-retail business, while eating more of the retail landscape with ever faster shipping and bigger product selection. Well, think about it for a minute. Now, I live out in the country. I live in a little town called Watertown. And, if I need something today, like right now, I got to go up to the Walmart in Lebanon. It's a 12-mile trip up the road. And if I need it, I'll go up there. If I need something, that or Lowe's or something that I need it today, I'll go right up the road and I'll get it today. But I have to drive 12 miles to do it. However, there's always this equation that runs through my mind. Well, if I want it tomorrow, I don't have to get up and drive right now 12 miles to Lebanon and burn all that gas. They'll just put it on my doorstep tomorrow. So, I mean, that's the dilemma for the folks at Walmart. But really, when you think about it, we in America have it so good. In many ways, I mean, I was in China, and I'd been there for about a week, and I was getting ready to go back home. And I struck up a relationship with the concierge at the front desk of the hotel. And I said, look, I'm getting ready to go back home, and I want to get some gifts to take back home. And I said, I'm trying to find, where would I go here in Beijing? And the guy says, oh, Mr. Bryan, we have the most amazing store. It is so big. It has everything in the world you could possibly imagine. Anything in the world that you want, you can get it there. I said, well, I need to go to this place. Where is it? He says, it's right up the road here. I said, well, what's it called? It's called Walmart.
Really?
Yeah, no kidding. And I looked at him, I said, oh, no, I was thinking about things that were more, culturally Chinese, like I want to get some pearls and some scarves and things like that for members of my family. And he said, oh, well, then you want to go to the market downtown, and show me where to go. But I mean, honestly, we look at that, we look at Walmart as an everyday, we don't think twice about having a Walmart or a Home Depot or a Lowe's or any of these stores. We just think it's great. Imagine living in a place where they think that Walmart is the end-all and be-all experience in retail shopping. I thought it pretty interesting. 51 past the hour. The chairman of the Federal Reserve has said that we are on an unsustainable fiscal path. And they're not going to pay off the $34 trillion debt anytime soon. They'll just print money to pay the interest on the debt, and it will weaken the U.S. dollar. Maybe it's time to think about another kind of investment, right? Maybe you've thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but you feel like you don't have the knowledge you need to make a smart decision. Honestly, I felt the same way. But I got the professional guidance I needed at Nashville Gold and Coin. How many times have you heard someone describe something as being the gold standard? Well, when it comes to finding an investment that protects you from runaway inflation, gold is the gold standard. Here's the way it works. You set up an appointment. You'll sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Gold and Coin. They'll answer your questions and help you make the precious metals investment that is right for you. It's friendly. You'll learn a lot. You'll never be subjected to a high-pressure sales pitch. Gold and silver can be that safe haven in an uncertain economic time. My friends at Nashville Gold and Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metals market. To set up the one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at MembersNutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to MembersNutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to MembersNutrition.com. Once again, MembersNutrition.com.
More military aid to Israel possible. Election debates dates are in. Homelessness in Tennessee, and HBO announcing which of your favorite shows are coming back. Those stories coming up at 4 o'clock right here. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, let's take a look at the markets. Dow Jones Industrials up 50 points. The S&P hit a new record today, above 5,300, rising 61 points. NASDAQ up 230 points. That's about 1.4%. So all screens vibrantly green. This brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Learn more about all the things they can do to help you get ready for retirement. Just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 58 past the hour.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a Guaranteed Offer and start packing.
Four o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 72 degrees, possibility for thunderstorms later on this afternoon in Middle Tennessee, nothing severe. Traffic, complete weather forecast 5 minutes away. Starting in the nation's capital, reports say that the White House is giving $1 billion in military aid to Israel. That aid is tied to $3 billion in military sales already promised to Israel. This comes just a week after the Biden administration said it will pause sending bombs that could be used in Rafah. Marcus Moore has more from Tel Aviv.
Word of this arms deal, which would include hundreds of millions of dollars in ammunition for tanks, as well as vehicles and other munitions. This equipment not arriving immediately is something that would happen over the course of many years. But the signal being sent is that, yes, the U.S. is behind you and will be behind you for quite some time.
In election 2024, President Biden and former President Trump have accepted an invitation from CNN to debate on June 27th and on ABC on September 10th. Biden issued the challenge in a 14-second video to social media this morning, but he wants the debates on his terms, meaning he wants only certain media outlets to organize them instead of what has been tradition dating back to the 1980s.
The Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates has hosted every fall face-off between the major party candidates since Bush and Dukakis debated in 1988. That's 9 cycles of American presidential elections. But now the Biden campaign says that model produces noisy spectacles. And rather than 3 debates before audiences, Biden wants just 2, held in otherwise empty TV studios. For his part, Donald Trump tells Fox News he accepts Biden's challenge.
And the other news outlets Biden's willing to debate on are ABC, Telemundo, and CBS. Homelessness here in Tennessee. Numbers from Metro government show that the number of people experiencing chronic homelessness in Nashville has rose 43% to more than 1,400 people. That's for a rise from a little more than 1,000 people. This comes after in 2022 when Metro Council members approved of using $50 million in American Rescue Plan funding to address homelessness across Nashville. The Office of Homelessness Services says that the report that homelessness is rising is false and that it really is just more data collection. And some entertainment news. A bunch of your favorite HBO and Max shows are coming back, but it might be a while. Here's Jason Nathanson.
The good news, they're hard at work on a new season of White Lotus, but you're not going to get it this year. HBO says it'll be out in 2025. That news coming during the Warner Brothers Discovery Upfronts, where they present their shows to advertisers. It'll also be next year until we see season 2 of The Last of Us, the critically acclaimed video game adaptation starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, which debuted season 1 almost a year and a half ago. And season 3 of the Sex and the City spinoff, And Just Like That, also won't be out until next year.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they're on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. Second hour of the drive, 4:07 on Super Talk 99.7. Let's get down to business. We got stuff to talk about. new developments in the 2024 election campaign story. We're going to have, I didn't think we were going to have them, but we're going to have a couple of debates. That was made very clear today by Joe Biden when he accepted, Donald Trump had already thrown it out there. Hey, anytime, any place, anywhere. And today, Joe Biden accepted.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Yeah. Well, listen, I will say this. That sounds better than it looked. I think it's 19, seconds long. And there's something like 5 edits in it. He can't, 51 words, I'm told. He couldn't get 51 words out without an edit.
I'm surprised it was only that many edits.
Yeah, I don't know. It's ridiculous. So we're going to have a couple of debates, but it's going to be different than your commission on presidential debates thing that we've seen in the past. First one, June 27th, not that far down the pike. The second one will be on September 10th. That will be after both of the conventions. The first one will be, I think, hosted by CNN, as I understand it. And CNN has made an announcement that the moderators of said debate will be Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. So that is that one. September 10th, I think it's ABC maybe is what I heard.
Yes.
One way. Yeah, ABC. Yeah, ABC. We'll do the second one in September. Details to be announced. But, as I said, this is going to be very different. Joe Biden would only agree to debate under certain circumstances. Number one, that there be no audience. In other words, this will be the 2 candidates in a studio, in a television studio, mano a mano. Debates should be conducted for the benefit of the American voters watching on television and at home, not as entertainment for an in-person audience with raucous or disruptive partisans and donors who consume valuable debate time with noisy spectacles of approval or jeering, as was the case with the original televised debate in 1960. A television studio with just the candidates and moderators is better. It's a more cost-efficient way to proceed, focus solely on the interest of the voters. Number 2, RFK will not participate. RFK Jr. will not be there, nor will any other third-party candidate. Biden's campaign says the debate must be one-on-one. Critical demand excludes Robert F. Kennedy, a long-shot independent candidate who has nevertheless made his presence known in polls. Not only that, but Kennedy has been shown to be more effective in leeching Democrat voters than Republicans, making him an outsized threat to Biden. Here's how the Biden team put it. The debate should be one-on-one, allowing voters to compare the only 2 candidates with any statistical chance of prevailing in the Electoral College and not squandering debate time on candidates with no prospect of becoming president. Kennedy, of course, condemned the requirement on his X account, said that Trump and Biden are colluding to block him from the debate stage. I would tell you this. I think there's no percentage for either Trump or Biden to have RFK Jr. on the stage. Just there's no percentage in it because it only detracts away from one of the 2 people who are likely to prevail in this race. I mean, it would only boost him higher and gives him credibility. So Trump doesn't want it, and I don't think Biden wants it. So, that one I'm not surprised by. I am a little surprised by this one. They limited the news outlets that could be considered. Biden's demand limit the number of major news outlets that can host a 2024 debate. It should be hosted by any broadcast organization that hosted a Republican primary debate in 2016 in which Donald Trump participated and a Democrat primary debate in 2020 in which President Biden participated. So neither campaign can assert the sponsoring organization is obviously unacceptable. If both candidates have previously debated on their airwaves, then neither could object to such a venue. So that ended up, if to qualify in both of those sets, wherever a Republican debated, if there were commonalities in there, then it meant this. This is the ultimate meaning of that. That the only networks that can host a debate are CNN, ABC, CBS, or Telemundo. So no Fox. I'm surprised by that. I'm surprised that the Trump people allowed that. Apparently, these negotiations have been going on behind the scenes between the Trump campaign and the Biden campaign for some time now. So this didn't come out of clear blue, thin air for them. They knew it. They knew that these things were going to happen. There should be time limits for answers and alternate turns to speak. In other words, when you are called on for a question, then and only then will your microphone be open. And when you're answering a question, your microphone only will be opened and the other microphone will be turned off. They know that, Trump wants to jab in there in the middle of his answers and throw him off balance. And so that's something that they put into the rules, the Biden people did. As for Donald Trump, he said, I am ready and willing to debate Crooked Joe at the 2 proposed times in June and September. I would strongly recommend more than 2 debates and for excitement purposes, a very large venue, although Biden is supposedly afraid of crowds. That's only because he doesn't get them. Just tell me when I'll be there. Let's get ready to. I can't say the last word. You know why? He said they used the phrase, let's get ready to. I can't say that.
He can afford to pay the fine.
Well,
or the whatever the lawsuit.
I used this phrase one time in a news story, and my news organization got hit with a big check. They had to write a big check on it because it is a copyrighted phrase.
Mr. Buffer.
That's right. Now, I would say that when you're talking about this debate involving Joe Biden, then what you would say is, let's get ready to mumble.
Ooh, nice.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Let's get ready to mumble. That's right. Yeah, by the way, don't ever use that phrase. I'm serious. It is costly. Boy, did I get my butt chewed for that. I'd never heard that it was a copyrighted phrase. I didn't know. All right, here it is again from the Wall Street Journal. Biden and Trump agreed to debates in June and September, hosted by CNN, ABC, bypassing the commission that has typically overseen events. They're not happy about it. They got their noses all out of joint. By the way, the CNN one will take place in Atlanta without an audience. ABC, September 10th. Okay. Other 2024 news of great importance, battleground poll here from an organization that I don't know a great deal about them, but I sort of agree with their assessment, a group called Signal, the nation's fastest growing, most accurate private polling firm, they say. And here's what it found out. And this tells you a lot about why the Biden people are not doing well. It really does. Here it is. The anti-Semitism underscoring the pro-Palestinian protest is the rare unifying issue in American politics. A microscopic 3% of battleground voters support the pro-Palestinian protest laced with anti-Semitism. I think the Biden people really messed up when they went out there and they sort of hemmed and hawed about, we support Israel, but, there's some good people out there in these protests, and we need to remember the plight of the Palestinians. No. Americans found that whole thing that was going on reprehensible and vulgar. And they were, and so all the Democrats, if they thought that they were trying to, they wanted to make sure they didn't lose a few young voters because, well, quite frankly, Biden is bleeding young voters. And they didn't want to irritate those people who felt passionately about the issue, even though they may have, behind the scenes not agreed with it. They didn't want to alienate those people. So they were seen as sort of trying to, walk the fence, trying to dance on a tightrope. And it didn't work well for them because most Americans were decidedly on one side of that issue, which is something that the Biden administration finally figured out. Here's more from that poll. Trump's job approval, 48%, now overshadows Biden's approval, 37%, by more than 10%. Over 80% of voters oppose the pro-Hamas protest occurring on college campuses across the country. A majority of black voters now see the Democrat Party as more extreme than the Republicans. Overall, voters' view that Democrats are more extreme has increased by 5% since January. How about that number? That, believe it or not, that's a very telling number. America, especially when you're talking about independent voters, those people in the mushy middle who aren't strictly partisan one side or the other, they think that Democrats are becoming more extreme, I believe. The Biden campaign attacks on RFK Jr. appear to be having an intended impact. The 3% of voters who had shifted away from RFK Jr. and now say they will definitely support Biden. But the full head-to-head presidential ballot still has Trump leading by more than 2%, 47-45 in their poll. Inflation in the economy regains prominence as the top issue. Priority for voters with border security, 25%. Remaining a close second is abortion. Excuse me. The economy, top issue, 26%. A priority for voters with border security, 27%. Remaining a close second, abortion, 7%, as is the issue there. So 25 for inflation, 26 for inflation, 25 for border, 7% for abortion, which means that, if Democrats are counting on that as being the one issue that saves them, it's not near as important to Americans as the economy or the border. And here's one little thing to throw out as part of this poll. Voters overwhelmingly reject, by 61%, the Biden administration changes to Title IX, which requires colleges and universities to grant them the same rights as biological women to biological men who identify as women. In other words, Americans, by and large, by 61% of Americans are not buying all of this stuff that the Biden administration wants to do to change Title IX to allow transgendered men who now prefer to be identified as women to participate in the field of athletic play. Real quick, from the Washington Examiner, black voters are fleeing Biden and Democrats over inflation and extremism. Same poll we talked about. Ohio orders purge of ineligible voters from state voter rolls after finding 137 non-citizens registered to vote, from the Epoch Times. And another story we'll get into maybe a little later from thehill.com. Biden's weaknesses become bigger and bigger worry for Democrats. They're afraid that the down market races, for the House and the Senate, will be impacted because the president doesn't have any coattails and nobody wants to stand alongside him. 21 past the hour.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
ammo being sent to Israel from here. And we've got a Money News report taking a trip to Wall Street. 4:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, 25 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair all the way till 7 o'clock. Hope you're doing well out there. Hope things are going well for you on this Wednesday. We'll get you home. You may start hearing a lot more about Ashley Biden's diary. This has become quite the story, and it is sordid, but I'm going to just go ahead and lay it out there for you. Tender ears, you might want to tune away for a moment or two, but you want to hear this story. Ashley Biden, let me see if I can just sort of synthesize this story down, had a diary, and she wrote her innermost thoughts at it. She's a troubled individual. She's dealt with apparently some kind of addiction issues, and she wrote about this extensively in her diary. She was living with an individual, and she moved out and apparently left the diary behind, accidentally. The diary ended up in the hands of Project Veritas, and there were some things in the diary that certainly caught people's attention. But Project Veritas, who James O'Keefe was still in charge of it back then, did not do anything with the diary. They felt like, well, we don't know whether or not this is accurate. Could this be a fake? We can't absolutely verify that this is her diary. But there's strong evidence that there was a diary, but were these actually writings from the diary? Well, that all changed the other day when Ashley Biden, she's sued the person who allegedly took the diary, and she's now appealing to the judge to throw the book at that person. And she writes a letter and says, although this criminal act happened more than 3 years ago because of the publicity it drew, I am constantly re-traumatized by it. This is the key phrase that you need to listen to. I will forever have to deal with the fact that my personal journal can be viewed online. Well, the moment she said that was her personal journal that was online, she confirmed the authenticity of said diary. So what's in the diary that's causing so much concern? Well, here it is. I'm going to read it to you. She's talking about addiction. Here we go. She talked about being hypersexualized at a young age, along with mentions of not liking to visit a certain family households, being sexualized with a female friend, and having sex with friends at a young age. The author noted taking, quote unquote, showers with my dad, probably not appropriate, she adds parenthetically. I think we can all agree that taking showers with dad when you're a young girl is not appropriate. She doesn't say that she has memories of it. She says it happened. She took showers with her dad, probably not appropriate. So now this is out, that, the questions are being raised about whether that was appropriate, and whether Joe Biden acted inappropriately in doing so. And it's confirmed that this diary is indeed, because she confirmed it, it is indeed her diary. Now, a lot of fact checkers had said that they couldn't put this one across the goal line because they didn't know the authenticity. Everything changed because of the actions of Ashley Biden writing to the judge and confirming that the journal that everybody's been talking about, that's the subject of this litigation, was indeed hers and no one else's. 30 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock.
.430, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 72 degrees, mostly cloudy currently here on Music Row. Forecast traffic report just ahead. More American weapons will be headed to Israel after all, a week after the Biden administration said it would pause sending large bombs. Sources now say the White House is giving the okay to $1 billion sale of arms and ammunition to the IDF. Matt Gutman is in Tel Aviv.
What the White House suspended was about 3,500 2,000-pound bombs. These are big monster bombs that can take out a building or even parts of an entire block or a neighborhood, killing large amounts of people. And the concern from the White House was that these bombs would be used in a Rafah incursion. These are what Israel relies on, the precision-guided bombs. So they said, hey, you can't have those, but, as per previous agreements, we're going to give you these artillery shells.
Now over to the Money News Report. Daria Albinger filling us in on Wall Street today.
New record highs for the S&P and NASDAQ. The S&P has broken the 5,300 mark for the first time, and the NASDAQ gained 1.4% as investors get a boost from a dip in the consumer price index. Inflation ticked down from 3.5% to 3.4% year over year. That's giving investors hope that the Federal Reserve might cut interest rates sooner than expected. The Dow added 350 points. A separate report finds retail sales were flat last month. Petco Health Plus Wellness helped push stocks higher, jumping almost 19% after naming Glenn Murphy, CEO of investment firm FIS Holdings, as its executive chairman. Netflix says its ad tier has reached 40 million global monthly active users. Congress has passed a bill to address aircraft safety, add more air traffic controllers, and give air travelers more refund rights.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather are on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Grace Point Healthcare is the standard for affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine. How? Well, as a direct pay provider, your health care is delivered without the red tape of an insurer's guidelines. Smart Care plans make it even more affordable. Starting at $69 a month, you get free office visits, I said free, and basic labs for the entire year. Grace Point identifies and treats the root causes of a condition, not just the symptoms, utilizing a comprehensive, functional approach, and by usually seeing you the same day or the next day, you're treated at your convenience. Grace Point Healthcare. Affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. Located on Main Street in Franklin, here's the number, 599-6868. That's 599-6868 to schedule an appointment.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 37 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. And the big news today, of course, is that the presidential debates have been now scheduled for June 27th on CNN and September 10th for ABC News. The first one, which is really not that far down the pike, will be hosted or will be, I guess, what he was called. The people who will be the moderators will be Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. Joining us now, as he does when we're lucky on Wednesdays, is Pete Hegseth from Fox News, a weekend edition of Fox and Friends. He's one of the hosts there. And also, when he's not doing that, he's right here in Middle Tennessee with the rest of us, living up in Sumner County. Pete, good to have you on today.
Hey, Brian. Great to talk to you.
Well, let's talk about the debates. I was among those who thought we would not have debates. I thought it wasn't in Joe Biden's interest to do it, but I think that they made a calculated decision that things aren't going so well. We need to do something to move the needle, and maybe this is it.
I think you're right. Brian. I think they realized, hey, they need a shakeup. They're behind. They got a bad candidate. They've got bad issues. They've got a strong opponent who's only getting stronger after he's been weaponized against. And they can't – I think their calculation was they just couldn't get away with not doing it. And so the closer it is to the election, the more impact it can have. I actually think Trump won here, too, because they didn't want the Presidential Commission on debates because those debates would have happened in October. And you're going to have a lot of those votes already banked in early voting because of the nuts voting system we have. So getting a debate in June and another debate in September, I think is a big win for Trump. He's going to. I mean, the reality is though he's playing an away game on all fronts. I mean, it's at CNN. It's microphones being cut off. It's no audience. They're going to find every way to try to make it work against him, and they'll drug Joe up. But Joe having to do this twice is really bad for Joe. And so either way, I think the anywhere, anytime slogan of Trump eventually wore on them. They had to give in, and we're going to get to pop the popcorn twice.
Well, it is sort of a gamble for them because you never know what Joe Biden is going to show up. The one that's been, hyped up with Adderall or something, or the other one who can't put a sentence together.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the thing the Trump team is going to have to do is manage expectations. The expectations of most viewers is Joe going to survive the debate? Will he? Is he going to keel over? And that's too low of a bar. I mean, when they do give him whatever State of the Union cocktail they gave him and jack him up and prep him for a week, he's going to look better than people expect. But remember, the State of the Union was with a teleprompter. This is unscripted. His default is to go to anger and to mumble. That's not going to bode well for him. So I still think it's bad. But Trump's going to have to play the expectation game here. So Joe, because you don't want him coming out with a wash, like, oh, he survived, he was just fine. That might send people back in his direction, unfortunately.
All right, so let's talk about the big picture. One of the things we saw was that New York Times Siena poll, which suggested that Trump still leads in 5 out of the 6 battleground states. But the bottom line is there wasn't any appreciable movement in those polls since the last time they were taken. I mean, Donald Trump's on trial. They're throwing everything in the world they can throw at him. We've had all of these protests around the country, which I don't think have worked well for the Biden administration, as some polling is now beginning to suggest. But yet the needle didn't seem to move at all. Why do you think that is?
I think it's the fundamentals. I really do. I think the fundamentals are it's a bad economy. Our border's wide open. Joe Biden's not trusted. The world stage is chaos. And more people see that there's this thing going on in New York with money and payments that could have been adjudicated a long time, but now they're going after Trump. And he's using his time very effectively to highlight crime in New York like there's crime elsewhere, or work with blue-collar workers to support the firefighters. And he's getting airtime every time he walks out of that courtroom. I think it just highlights the unfairness of what he's been talking about, and now it really is playing out in front of them. But yes, it's Trump. It's a pro-Trump push. You saw the 100,000 people in New Jersey. There's no doubt. There's a magic there. But it's also a rejection of the fundamentals of our lives are worse off. Joe's to blame for it, and he can't explain it.
That 100,000 people that showed up in New Jersey, that was a real surprise to me. I mean, I thought, he always has a good crowd. but that was a magnificent crowd. That was in a very blue state. He seems to think he can pick up some of these blue states like New Jersey. He's mentioned Virginia. He says well, I've seen a poll that says he's only 2 points down in Minnesota, which has been a traditional state. I've got a statistic on that. The last time a Democrat lost in Minnesota was 1972. 52 years ago. He thinks he can play well in Minnesota. It seems that, maybe he really does have a chance. If he picks up one of those, it's pretty much game over, the way I look at it.
It is. I mean, it's really good to have your opponent feeling like they're playing defense. And if he's competing in Minnesota, New Jersey, and Virginia, it's game over. And if they really have to defend there, that's time and resources they shouldn't have to use. I was born and raised in Minnesota. I know the state very well. Oh. I find it very hard to believe that Donald Trump would win that state, considering the machine politics of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Even Walter Mondale didn't win in '84, and he was from. It's the only state he won against Reagan in 1984 was Minnesota. So we'll see. I mean, if the youth numbers and the black numbers and the Hispanic numbers cut the way they are, anything's possible. Anything's possible.
Yeah. So, what do you think if Pete Hegseth was doing the moderation? What is the first question you would ask?
Oh man, you put me on the spot there. Oh goodness gracious! I mean, it would be something along the lines to Joe of, if I was trying to destroy my country, what would I do different than what you've done at the border?
That would be a good one. Yeah, okay, all right.
I would. I have a feeling we won't hear that, but that's what I would ask.
One of the things that we're finding in some of the polling data is that Americans about only 3% of Americans were in support of these protests that were going on college campuses, which I know is a topic that's near and dear to you because you feel like we lost the college campuses a long time ago, and this is just it rearing its ugly head in a way. But it was really shocking to me that only 3%. That yet the Biden administration, they tried to walk that tightrope for a while. Do you think that really hurt them?
I do. I think it was one of those. I think there's a verse in Revelations that says, "You are either hot or you're cold, but if you're lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth." And that's exactly what the Democrat base has done to Joe Biden. You tell me you support Israel, but you clearly don't. You're depriving them of weapons. You tell me you support the Palestinians, but you clearly don't. You're feeding the Israeli war machine, and he can't win. The problem is he ended up catering more to the Palestinian whack jobs, because they're the ones. Here's where the education piece comes back into play. They represent all the young staffers in the White House too, all the staffers in the State Department, all the generation of people that came out of those institutions believing that Israel's the bad guy. And so he was surrounded by noise of a younger generation telling him, "You're evil, you're evil, you're evil." He gave too much to that, and as a result, lost from everybody. So I think Bernie Sanders was right. This is Joe Biden's Vietnam inside his own party. It's why we'll see 1968 outside the convention in Chicago, because he's nobody, and his base has left him.
It's not going to be pretty. I don't think at either convention, quite frankly. All right, so the Trump trial. Any thoughts on that? I think it's washing over most Americans. I think most Americans have decided that okay, I don't care. But nonetheless, many people are talking breathlessly about the testimony of Michael Cohen. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when you base your whole case on a known liar, that's a real big problem. It's a mockery of the justice system, of course. I think in the optics sense, the fact that it's not televised is really important. If it had been televised, like a Kyle Rittenhouse or like an O.J. Simpson, or where it was every witness, you get to know them, you're watching the nuances, everyone is Monday morning quarterbacking, I think it would have had more of an impact. But readouts on Fox and CNN and MSNBC just don't cut it for most people, and they hear the white noise and they hear the basics, and they've heard them before. And so I just don't think it has an impact. I think he has a chance of being acquitted, or at least a hung jury. I think that the prosecution's been so weak that there's a chance of that. And you consider this is the most Democrat or second most Democrat district in the country. That's shocking.
I have a lot of respect for Jonathan Turley, who appears on your network from time to time talking about this particular case and other things. And he seems to think that and if it were a fair court of justice, that you could get a direct verdict on this, a directed verdict by the judge. And I think that would be true if it was anybody other than this Juan Merchan.
Oh, I know. If you pay just a little bit of attention to, first of all, the underlying crime they're attempting to charge him with, and that tied to the other crimes they're trying to charge him with, and then the actual evidence, and you consider, wait, so if he logged it as a campaign contribution, then it'd be a violation there. But right. if he logged it as a legal expense, now it should have been a campaign expense. It's, heads you win, tails you lose, or whatever the opposite is of that. I don't know. There's no winning is all I know. And I think it makes our justice system look bad across the board, and it won't impact the presidential election, which is shocking considering a year ago we thought it would.
I always want to give you an opportunity because I'm very interested to get a hold of your book. How's the book going? It's a very different book than in things you've written in the past, but it's based on some personal experience and some research regarding the military. Talk where we are on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. The book is called The War on Warriors. War on Warriors, Behind the Betrayal of the Men Who Keep Us Free. It goes on sale June 4th, but you can pre-order it right now. It is, Brian, a big chunk of my own story. I was eventually pushed out of the military and by being called an extremist after joining 20 years earlier to fight extremists. The whole story is in there. But my story is emblematic of what other guys have faced over 20 years. Political priorities taking over warfighting priorities and generals giving in. It's not a book about how the military, why the military is woke. It's how did the military allow itself to go woke. And it's an institution with a lot of, unfortunately, generals with stars on their shoulders, but cowardice in their heart, and they let weakness infiltrate our ranks. And so it's a personal story. I talked to almost 100 vets and military members to get their insights. There's a lot of people still serving. And we have a great military. We really do. But there's a reason we can't get recruits. It's because we're catering to weird constituencies that never wanted to serve in the first place and rejecting, normal, strong men who have always been the backbone of our military. So it's The War on Warriors. I appreciate you mentioning it. It goes on sale in a couple weeks, but you can get it right now.
All right. Sounds good. Listen, Pete, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Brian.
It is 49 past the hour.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. And precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
A small plane crash in Williamson County this afternoon. The FAA has confirmed that 2 people were on board that flight. Search and rescue missions now ensuing a shooting in Tennessee this afternoon. Election threats. Also, we've got some news on moderators for this next presidential debate, and world-famous magician David Copperfield facing new and renewed allegations of sexual assault. 5 o'clock, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
56 past the hour. Listen, if you are a big fan of guitars like I am, you got to get down to the Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum between now and Sunday. They're showing some of these really rare guitars that are going to go on auction in New York on May 29th through the 30th. We're talking about, here's one. John Lennon's 1965 Help album, Framus 12-string Hootenanny acoustic guitar. Wow. Belonged to John Lennon. Lost for 50 years. It was found in an attic recently. It has been refurbished and is up for auction. Bob Dylan's, in an attic, I know. Bob Dylan's 65 Fender Telecaster. Randy Bachman's American Woman 1959 Gibson Les Paul Standard. But the one I want, of course, I'm not even close to having the funds to acquire this guitar. Okay. Mark Knopfler's 1987 Gibson Chet Atkins Country Gentleman guitar, signed by Chet Atkins.
Wow.
Yeah. You get down to the Musicians Hall of Fame all the way through Sunday. And, if you got millions of dollars to spare, you might want to bid on one in New York, May 29th and 30th. Listen, coming up in the next hour, we'll go to the woke world. I've got some great woke world stories and much more. Stay where you are. It's 57 past the hour.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Five o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories and breaking news on this small plane crash in Williamson County. The FAA now announcing 3 were killed in that small plane crash that happened just off of Chestnut Road and Davis Hollow Road afternoon. The FAA has confirmed that at first that at least 2 people were on board. They're now releasing more information on that crash. We'll bring it to you right here, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Officials have asked that if you find debris on your property, to call police. A shooting here in Tennessee. 2 people were shot this afternoon at a 7-Eleven Exxon gas station in Murfreesboro at Joe B. Jackson Parkway. Police say the 2 gunmen are in custody. The gas station and a nearby Burger King are closed as police investigate there. Traffic could be delayed on Joe B. Jackson Parkway. The Senate Intelligence Committee warned this year's presidential election could be the most attacked in U.S. history by malicious foreign actors. Im Nguyen.
Committee Chairman Mark Warner warned of foreign malign influence, saying,
"In many ways, our adversaries could be more sophisticated and aggressive in both scale and scope in this election."
Warner said he's concerned how AI tools can accelerate the spread of disinformation. This as the committee kicked off its first of several expected hearings on election interference before November.
We've got to do a better job of making sure Americans of all political stripes understand what is very probably coming their way.
And staying with politics, CNN has announced moderators for next month's presidential debate. They'll be Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. And some entertainment news. World-famous magician David Copperfield facing new and renewed allegations of sexual assault. Jason Nathanson.
16 women say they were assaulted by David Copperfield. The allegations published by the UK news outlet The Guardian, which says the dates of the claims range between the 1980s and 2014. More than half involve women who were underage at the time, and the magician is accused of drugging and assaulting at least 3 of the women. Copperfield's lawyers say the claims are false. Many of them have been made before and were investigated by U.S. law enforcement, resulting in no charges.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number 1, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number 2, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is 5:06 on Super Talk 99.7. We are halfway through the show on a day that is halfway through the week and a month that we're halfway through. That's right. But we're going to give you the full. We're not going to do anything half you know what.
Although it would be fitting, I suppose.
Yeah, I know. No. We're going to give you 1,000%. We're not going to give you 100%. Give you 1,000% here today to talk about a bunch of different stuff, including the fact that we live in a woke world. Yes, it's oh, they're not done. Oh, this is painful. All right. Wrap it up. All right, here's some woke news. Kansas Attorney General has announced a lawsuit against the Biden administration to make changes in Title IX. Now, what is Title IX? Title IX is the thing that changed women's sports and made actually women's sports what it is today. We wouldn't have, what is it, Caitlin Clark, isn't that her name? We wouldn't have that today. She, if it had not been probably for Title IX. They gave young girls a chance to play on the field of athletic endeavor and to fund those programs. We wouldn't have that without Title IX. But now the Biden administration wants to change it to make it more likely that transgendered men who were born biologically as men but now identify as women can play on the field of athletic endeavor. And you know, this is just so not right. It's not in keeping with what Americans want. 61% of Americans say that they're against the ideas of changing Title IX in this way. But that doesn't mean that the Biden administration is not going to do it. This is another one of those things that I'm looking at. I'm going, man, why would you do this now? I mean, if you're worried about irritating or offending voters, and 61% of people who've been surveyed say that they are against this idea, why would you do this now? I think that there's a lot of things going on in the Biden administration where they're sort of looking at the possibility that they're not going to be there for a second term, so we better get it done now while we can. Kansas Attorney General Chris W. Kobach announced that his office has filed a lawsuit against the Biden administration over the rewrite of Title IX, forcing schools to allow individuals to participate in school sport teams according to their gender identity rather than their biological sex. Mr. Kobach announced the lawsuit at a press conference from the state ceremonial signing room, Kansas State Capitol in Topeka, on yesterday. The lawsuit, which specifically names the U.S. Department of Education, Secretary Miguel Cardona, and U.S. Department of Justice Attorney General Merrick Garland, alleges the final rule revising Title IX seeks to politicize the nation's education system to conform to the radical ideological views of the Biden administration and its allies. Wow. This is just the one thing that we don't need in America. Why can't we as Americans just identify the fact that there are biological differences between men and women? You know, and on the field of athletic play, you know, somebody who was born a biological male who then decides that they want to identify as a woman. I'm not filing any judgment on that. I don't know. You know, I don't know what you're doing, what you're living. But, you know, if you want to identify as a female, that's all good and fine with me. But I don't want you in my daughter's locker room. I don't want you in my daughter's bathroom. And I don't want you out there having an unfair advantage. I mean, in some areas, honestly, nobody gets harmed in a swimming pool, I suppose, except those people who lose the opportunity for scholarships and are being ripped off because they otherwise would have won had there not been a biological male, now identifying as a female, who is participating against them. I mean, okay, you're not going to be physically harmed, but there's so many other sports out there. And I like to use this example of when My daughter was playing. She was a defensive player, last line of defense before you got to the goalie. And I mean, I'll tell you what, you had to be aggressive and you had to get out there and you had to get in somebody's grill if you want to protect them, protect your goalie. Should never get to the goalie. That was my daughter's myth. Never should get to the goalie. It can't get past me. But if that guy coming against you is stronger, bigger, and faster, somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get out in the basketball courts. Somebody's going to get hurt. No need in this. No need in this. And America doesn't want it. This is something the Biden administration is agitating for. And again, I think they do so at their own peril. Townhall.com, Republican Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves announced on Monday that he signed a bill into law that protects women from so-called transgender people in their restrooms and locker rooms. The far-left radicals aren't going to like it, but in Mississippi, we're going to protect women's spaces, Reeves, who has $3, wrote on X. It's mind-blowing that this is what the Joe Biden America has become. Having to pass common-sense policies that protect women's spaces was unimaginable just a few years ago, but here we are, and we have to pass a law to protect women's bathrooms, sororities, locker rooms, dressing rooms, shower rooms, and more. You have my word that as long as I'm governor of our state, we will do everything in our power to keep Mississippi's daughters safe. Going forward, all public institutions in the state will be required to install single-sex bathrooms, changing areas, and dorms, as well as at least one gender-neutral bathroom and a changing room. Reported that those individuals who violate the policy could be sued, but schools will be protected from liability. Additional people will only be permitted to use the spaces that align with their biological sex, as opposed to their so-called gender identity. The law took effect immediately. Good on you, Mississippi. This is from the Daily Caller. No idea about their fertility. Gender doctors shed light on grim reality facing kids considering sex changes. Top doctors in the field of transgender medicine discussed the stark reality of infertility resulting from puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones at a 2022 conference, according to videos obtained through an open records request by the Daily Caller News Foundation. The doctors discussed how children don't fully grasp the consequences of potentially sterilizing drugs and medical procedures. And some acknowledge that the gender medical industry often rushes patients through the sex change process. The 2022 conference was put on by the World Professional Association of Transgender Health and an international organization that creates treatment guidelines for transgender medicine. Medical experts from all areas gathered for their 27th annual symposium in Montreal, Canada, to discuss recently updated standards of care. One doctor, Scott Leibowitz, a psychiatrist at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Ohio, said that while it's important to tell kids that puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgery could make them infertile, doctors shouldn't pump the brakes on these procedures, he said. Our adolescent patients who acknowledge they may regret undergoing sterilization and could want to have kids in the future is thereby capable of consent, according to a video. They're pushing this down the throats of these young people. I like very much the approach that we've taken here in the state of Tennessee with regard to this, that if you're an adult, you reach the age where you can make your legal decisions, that's good and fine. But we're not, even with parental guidance, I think that we owe it to these kids to give them the opportunity to get to an age where they can reasonably have some chance of successfully, contemplating all of the aspects of a change in gender. I just think, if you want to knock, again, I draw no judgments if you want to do this once you become an adult, but we ought to protect the kids. And I think that once you get into this system, when you get into these programs, that there's sort of like, it becomes sort of, a downhill roller coaster. You can't stop it. You can't stop it. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti led a coalition of 18 states in filing a lawsuit against the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission after it published its new sexual harassment guidelines extending Title VII's protections against sex-based discrimination to cover gender identity. In April, the EEOC released its new guidelines, which insisted that employers are liable under Title VII if they or another employee use the incorrect name or pronoun of an employee's preferred gender identity. Further, the employer can be liable for limiting access to bathrooms and other facilities, such as showers or locker rooms, based on biological sex and not on gender identity. If a customer or other non-employee fails to use another employee's preferred pronouns or refuses to share a restroom with somebody of the opposite sex, that employer can be sued. That's what they're going to do. You have a business out there? Do you want this as your guidelines? That you have to live up to these guidelines? In America, the Constitution gives the power to make laws to the people's elected representatives, not to unaccountable commissioners. And this EEOC guidance is an attack on our constitutional separation of powers, said Skermeti. Oh, man, I'm so glad this guy's there. When as here, a federal agency engages in government over the people, instead of government by the people, it undermines the legitimacy of our laws and alienates Americans from our legal system. This run around our Constitution misuses federal power to eliminate women's private spaces and punish the use of biologically accurate pronouns at the expense of Tennessee employers. This is done by executive order. Joe Biden, fully responsible for this. It's called an executive order on preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. Wow. The Daily Wire reported that in response to the order, Biden's Department of Education and Equal Employment Opportunity Commission issued guidance documents providing their interpretation of Title IX in the education world and Title VII for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. They have issued, as of June 15th of 21, a technical assistance document that explains the obligations you have. Listen, 18 states have joined with Skermeti's lawsuit. I think, you have to have right now, the only way you can push back against everything that seems to be coming out of the Biden administration these days is to fight back on a state level and have the state's attorneys general join in on a big lawsuit. And if the 18 states have joined Skermeti, it's a lawsuit that has power. It's a lawsuit that it shows that it's a serious position of a great number of people in America today. Just big picture. Again, I don't know what it is to go through what you're going through if you want to be a transgendered individual. I draw no judgments about it. I'm one of these live and let live people, but you're demanding that I can't live without all of these weird things happening, and none of them are widely accepted by Americans today. I don't think that you have the right to determine whether or not you and you alone, based on how you wake up one day and how you feel, can now demand to be in a woman's locker room or on a woman's field of athletic play. I don't think that you have the right to force down the throat of employers these burdensome regulations that are going to cause nothing but lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. Where are we in America that we have lost sight of this thing and how it's spiraled so far out of control? Folks, this election is so very important because things like this are going to be coming. If he gets another 4 years, Katie bar the door, he's got absolutely nothing to lose at this point. 20 minutes past the hour. Restoration Wellness and Med Spa, the team over there wants to help you achieve your summer goals. Restoration Wellness is a leader in weight loss management in Wilson County, and you know summer's right around the corner. You're going to be in your bathing suit. You're going to be going down to the beach. You want to look good in your shorts, right? Call the Restoration Wellness team today at this number, 615-470-8124. Or visit them on their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation. My friends Carly and Jamie will take really good care of you like you're one of their own. Be a part of the 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program. Weight loss can increase your energy levels. It can improve your quality of sleep. It can enhance your overall health. So important. And by the way, these are customized treatment plans. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Restoration Wellness considers your unique needs, your lifestyle, and your goals. So whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Listen, I'm telling you, I'm going through the program. Cabana Wife is going through the program. Man, you should see how she looks these days. Looking good. Newest technology in weight loss management can be found at restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a Guaranteed Offer and start packing.
Small plane crash in Williamson County this afternoon. It ended the lives of 3 people. We'll give you more updates on that as we hear more information. A shooting in Tennessee, specifically Murfreesboro, this afternoon, and some news from the Transportation Security Administration's chief. All at 5:30. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
That's right. It's time for Mac Morey's wide, wild, weird, wacky world of sports. And now, here without further ado, is the man, the myth, the legend, who brings us all kinds of news. And today, sports news, the one, the only, Mac Morey.
Oh, yeah. We've got some Titans news. How about that?
Well, I take some of that, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a little quiet, during the summer, but it's NFL schedule release day, so let's get into it.
Are they going to release the whole thing finally?
Tonight at 7 p.m., they will release the whole thing.
Good.
We sort of getting a pretty good glimpse of it, though, aren't we?
Exactly. Bunch of leaks have come out, and some full schedules have been leaked.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. What? So we do have confirmed. We only have one confirmed game for the Tennessee Titans schedule. We have a bunch of things that we think might happen, but Week 1 has been confirmed. The Tennessee Titans will be traveling to Chicago to play in Soldier Field against the Chicago Bears and number 1 pick of this year's draft, Caleb Williams. So you've got last year, rookie quarterback Will Levis just now coming into his first full season versus an actual rookie number 1 overall pick. One of the best number 1 overall picks touted to be, at least, in the past, 10, 15 years. Caleb Williams, initial thoughts on this? That's great for the Titans because you don't want to travel to Chicago in November, December.
No, absolutely.
Get there while it's still maybe a little warm, a little less windy. So that's the only confirmed game. There are some leaks, though. Week 2, it could be the Jets and Aaron Rodgers on primetime football. So that would be fun, getting the Jets early on in the season. That's one where I'd rather have the Jets later in the season because that's a team that's full of 37, 38, 39, 40-year-old players. They're going to be battered and bruised up by after Week 8. Week 2, they're actually probably be looking pretty good.
Aaron Rodgers might still be on the field.
Yeah, if he can make it over 4 plays, then they actually might be good. So then there's some other leaks, like the whole Texans schedule got leaked, and it looks like the Titans could be playing them in an in-division game in Week 12. They could be playing the Green Bay Packers in Nashville in Week 3. So if those first 3 weeks are right, 2 of the first 3 games will be here at Nissan Stadium. That first week, though, will be away in Chicago. But we do have our whole holiday schedule released. So they have officially released that on Halloween. And by the way, I'll tell you where this is all playing because now you have to have every sort of streaming service possible to watch all these games. I'll get to that later. But Halloween, Texans, Jets, that's a fun one. Thanksgiving, we'll have the Bears and the Lions, the Giants and the Cowboys, and then the Dolphins and the Packers. And those 3 games right there. So Halloween, you got to watch on Amazon Prime Video. And then these 3 games. Yeah.
What if you do? That really is something because a lot of people don't have it.
Yeah. Yep. It stinks. Sorry. Or pay the service and then cancel it after that game. That's exactly right. Thanksgiving, you got Bears, Lions, that's CBS. Giants, Cowboys, that's Fox Sports. Normal, right? Cable, fine. Most people will be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then you've got Dolphins, Packers, Peacock. So if you're a Dolphins or Packers fan, or if you really want to watch that game, hope you have Peacock. Yep, exactly. Yep. Then Black Friday, they will have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Oakland Raiders. That's my fault. Las Vegas Raiders. That's going to be on Amazon Prime Video again. And then get this, a 3-year deal was announced today with Netflix. Netflix will be broadcasting the Christmas NFL games for the next 3 years. So if you want to watch football on Christmas, you got to get Netflix. That'll be the Ravens and Texans and then the Chiefs and the Steelers. It is very, very weird. It'll cost, if you want to watch every NFL game this year, it'll cost $850.
Wow.
$39 a week to watch football if you want to watch every game.
That's ridiculous.
It's crazy, man. It's absolutely an abomination.
Yeah, but they have gone away. I mean, I think it is fair to say that we no longer have to rely on just the big 3 networks.
That's true.
The big 4 networks. I'm glad that they have done that. But I mean, really, some of these obscure channels. What was it the other day? We had a complete meltdown on some obscure channel event that we were watching on sports. You told us about it. I forgot.
It was Bally's.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Bally Sports.
Oh, golf, right. Yeah, golf. Yeah.
Yeah, Bally Sports completely screwing up.
Listen, it takes a lot to be ready to handle something like that, to have the kind of, capability to handle that many viewers at one time.
Yeah.
And not everybody's up to it, so.
No, exactly. We saw Amazon Prime Video do okay last year on their Thursday Night Football slot. They actually do some cool stuff. We saw Peacock. It was okay. Peacock did fine with their game that they had last year. I think they had the Germany game.
That's basically just NBC, right?
Yeah, so they're used to this live stuff. That's what I'm saying.
They got the expertise.
Exactly.
Right.
Netflix, they haven't done a bunch of live stuff. And actually, some of the live things that they did last year were actually kind of a train wreck. So I'm curious to see how Netflix does. You're going to have the whole world watching on Christmas.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
thinking
just the way
about
that goes.
I was thinking about that. I watched something last year, I think it was. I don't even remember what it was, but it was one of these live things, and it was on Netflix, and it was a disaster.
Yeah.
It was like over an hour late getting started because it just caused a meltdown somewhere along the line.
Brian, you know better than us. Live broadcasting, man, that's a tough task. You got to pull off.
When you're talking about streaming, you got to have a tremendous amount of capability to bring in, handle all those streams at one time. And a lot of people, they think they got it, and then they get into it, they find, I can't even come close. All right, 31 past the hour. Let's go to the news now with Mac Morey.
5:31. I'm Mac Morey with your top story. 71 degrees and partly sunny. Got a traffic report and a weather forecast in 5 minutes. Today in Tennessee, a small plane crashed in Williamson County this afternoon in the area of Bending Chestnut Road and Davis Hollow Road. Officials have now confirmed that ended the lives of 3 people today. The debris field about a half mile long. Multiple people have called officials finding parts in their driveways and yards. Most of it, though, is in a wooded area. The NTSB did confirm that the aircraft is a Beech V-35 aircraft, and they're the ones handling this entire investigation. The plane was leaving Baton Rouge and was en route to Louisville, Kentucky. Some pieces of that plane did hold completely together. And officials have asked that if you find debris on your property to call police. Road closures in that area will be ongoing until tomorrow at some time. And it's unknown when identities of those killed will be released, but those families have been notified. Staying here in Tennessee with a crime story, 19-year-old Jalen Sanford was arrested in the murder of 19-year-old Kenneth Buford Jr. in a shooting. It happened Monday afternoon near Gallatin Pike when Buford was running away and was shot with what surveillance footage shows to be possibly an automatic pistol. Witnesses confirmed Sanford's identity in a lineup. Sanford, booked last night, remains in custody on a $600,000 bond. And the Transportation Security Administration's chief testified before lawmakers today about the evolving nature of threats. M. Nguyen with the latest from Washington.
TSA Administrator David Pekoski came before a House subcommittee to discuss their proposed fiscal year 2025 budget. Chairman Carlos Jimenez says there's an evolving threat landscape and that TSA has a steadfast responsibility to screen and protect the traveling public. Pekoski spoke about streamlining the timeline for new aviation screen technology and how TSA can improve identifying and detecting threats.
Ensuring security of our transportation system requires constant focus, continued investment, and hard work.
And that is the latest news, weather, traffic. They're on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 38 minutes now past the hour, 5 o'clock. Brian Wilson in the chair all the way till 7, and we headed over to Mark Levin, the great one. Really busy news day. Of course, the big news, just to recap in case you're just getting into your car. A lot of people get into their car this time of day. You know, they may have missed the news. There's going to be 2 debates between Trump and Biden. Not going to be an audience. RFK's not going to be there, and there will be some pretty strict rules in place about when the microphones are turned on. Only when it's your turn to talk. June 27th, CNN will host the first one in Atlanta, and then September 10th, details still to be coming. It'll be ABC. Fox News was not allowed to compete in this effort to get a debate. Apparently, they were cut out of the process. Also, just down from Fox News, they put out a new poll. We got some new numbers from them, interesting numbers. In a 2-way race between Trump and Biden, if the election held today, Trump would win by 1. But if you look at the 5-way numbers, that's Trump, Biden, Kennedy, West, and Stein, Trump wins by 3. That's interesting, isn't it? And that's got to be, again, one of the reasons why I think the Biden administration has now decided they need to do the debate. They've had some disastrous numbers in the battleground states. They screwed up big time by sort of walking a tightrope on this whole thing with the protest in college campuses and not showing solid support for Israel. Because the polling is very clear on that now, that American people didn't like that much at all. Only 3% of Americans. Think about it. Can you get Americans to agree on anything? 97% of Americans felt like they had a distaste and a dislike, and they frowned upon very seriously these protests on college campuses, and yet the Biden administration was catering to them. So they needed to do something. They're in trouble. So they took Donald Trump on his offer to have a debate. It's not the debate I would suggest, but nonetheless, they have decided 2 debates at least. Donald Trump wants 4, but I doubt he'll get them. All right, so there is that. Just some late breaking news and the big news of the day. I've been talking to you about this executive order 14019. We talked about it at the top of yesterday's show. It is very scary. Happened back in 21. The president of the United States, is March of 21, issues this executive order, which calls on all federal agencies to develop and execute corrective plans to promote voter registration and voter participation. And ostensibly on the surface, they are asking every single agency, every single bureau, every part of the government that responds to the demands of the executive branch, which is all of them. They are ordering them to find ways to promote voter registration. Now they say, "Oh, don't worry, it'll be nonpartisan." But we've gotten our hands on some documents and some notes from some of the meetings they had in the early going, and it's clear that the people they're talking to are not nonpartisan. They lean very left. And so the goal is to go out there and use the levers of government to weaponize the entire federal government in order to register largely Democrats, not so many Republicans. Right? And I'm saying this is bad. How do we let this slip up on us? What are we going to do about it? How can you stop it now? I mean, a lot of the damage has already been done. They say that if everything went as they thought it would go, they predicted that they could register 3.5 million more people, mostly Democrats. Wow. This one irritates me beyond belief. They're cheating. They're using, like they did the intelligence community, like they do the Department of Justice, like they do the legal system. They are weaponizing everything, including the entire federal government to assist them. The House Oversight Committee now probing a controversial Biden administration executive order tasking the federal government with mobilizing voter groups it says are underrepresented. In a letter obtained by Real Clear Politics, Chairman James Comer, Kentucky, has requested that Office of Management and Budget Director Shalonda Young produced a slew of documents and information concerning the development and implementation of Biden's sweeping executive order on promoting accessing to voting no later than May 28th and a staff-level briefing on May 20th. The demand by the chairman of the House Oversight Committee signals an escalation in Republican lawmakers' efforts to combat an effort they say may be unlawful, if not unconstitutional. The administration characterized its efforts as a remedy to discriminatory policies and other obstacles, disproportionately affecting black, non-English speaking, handicapped, or other minority voters. It instructs official government-wide to consider soliciting and facilitating approved, nonpartisan, third-party organizations to provide voter registration services on agency premises. Seeing the order as potentially enabling the executive branch to circumvent the legislative process, Comer is asking Young to clarify the constitutional or statutory authority the president relied on, as well as all White House and OMB documents and communications pertaining to the drafting of it. In past oversight letters, including ones delivered in June of 22 by then-ranking Republicans on various committees, including Comer, members have also raised concerns that officials could violate the Hatch Act, prohibiting their engagement in political activities and carrying out the order. Senate Republicans have also questioned whether the act violates the Anti-Deficiency Act, which precludes federal agencies from using funds for a purpose that Congress did not specifically authorize. Overreach by the federal government often leads to confusion and inconsistencies, Comer has said. He cites a letter from Mississippi Secretary of State Michael Watson to Attorney General Merrick Garland to illustrate this issue. The order mandates the relevant agencies seek to ensure access to voter registration for eligible individuals in federal custody. To satisfy that charge, the Magnolia State official notes that the U.S. Marshal Service is modifying contracts and/or intergovernmental agreements with jails to provide voter registration materials and facilitate voting by mail. Likewise, that the Justice Department is working to facilitate voter registration and mail voting for individuals in the custody of the Bureau of Prisons. He says these efforts create numerous opportunities for ineligible prisoners to be registered to vote in Mississippi. Well, it's happening in Mississippi. It's happening everywhere. I mean, they're trying to do everything they can to get this guy across the goal line. And this is cheating. This is, I mean, to me, the Hatch Act says you can't do this. This is this president, again, doing things by executive order, and then by the time we find out all the details, it's too late. This man doesn't believe in the rule of law. He just absolutely does not believe in the rule of law. He just does what he thinks is best, and, you know, you say later it's unconstitutional. Too late, the damage has been done. Sort of like, all these student loans that he paid off. We're going to pay off your student loan. Can't do that. It's unconstitutional. We're going to pay off your student loan anyway. And by the time you get it through the courts, guess what? The student loans have been paid off. How do you claw that money back? He is running around the constitutionally mandated process for passing laws and setting policy in this country. Now, look, I mean, They have notes from a Department of Justice attorney which indicates that in some of these Zoom calls that they've had, do you think that they've got Republican groups involved in this? No. Every one of them is some left-leaning group, and they say, well, we're going to go out and register people. That's a noble thing. We should go out and register people. All people should be registered to vote. We're just trying to help the democratic process, except that when you do it and you use the federal government and its money, and your taxpayer money, by the way, you do that to try to get only Democrats registered, it thwarts the system. It's interference in the election. Comer needs to hold a screaming hearing about this thing. He needs to pound the table on this and make as much noise as he possibly can, so the American people should know that the Biden administration is cheating ahead of this election. How did this slip past us? How did we only find out, recently what they were doing? This was in March of 21. It's not good. It's not good. They weaponized the intelligence community. Remember that? Hunter Biden's laptop's not real. It's Russian disinformation. And they got a bunch of people in the intelligence community to sign a letter saying it. Turned out it wasn't Russian disinformation. It was real. But they weaponized the system. We've seen how they weaponize, the Department of Justice is weaponized completely. And all of these cases, the legal system has been weaponized by the Biden administration to go after Trump. Somebody pointed out, I thought it was a really interesting point. Think of another guy who's the age of Donald Trump, who got through life all the way up to the age of 70 without ever having anything brought against him. How many people in America reach the age of 70 and suddenly they're criminals? They weren't before, but all of a sudden now they've gone into a life of crime, right? Silly. And then they weaponized the legal system, and now they are using every single lever of government to make sure that only certain people get registered to vote. We're going to make an effort to get these people, 3.5 million people. That could change an election when you realize that in battle states, some of these elections are decided by 100 votes, 200 votes, 1,000 votes. 3.5 million people. And you know where they're focusing. I guarantee you they're not focusing in Tennessee. I guarantee you they're not focusing in Alabama, Mississippi. I bet you they're not focusing too much in Florida. I know where they're focusing. States like Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania. That's right. That's where they're paying their attention. It's 50 minutes past the hour. Busy Bee, when you need heat or cold AC, you know the number, 775-7833. Good people over there. They'll take care of you if you've got a problem. Call that number. I do. I'm also a member of the Beehive Club, and you should be as well. When you become a member of the Beehive Club, it starts at $99. You receive the following. You get 3 annual tune-ups, preventative maintenance, really, on your heating system, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at your plumbing systems. You get 10% discount on repairs. You get a priority front-of-the-line service. You get $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a maximum of $1,000. So you can build up sort of a little account there when you need a big project done. You've got a little money in the bank, right? No overtime or holiday fees, and access to exclusive Beehive member promotions. And here's the thing, if you have a heating or a cooling project, it's time to replace the heater, time to replace the cooler, the air conditioning system. No interest if paid off in 15 months with approved credit. For plumbing projects, you can go 18 months with approved credit. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner for satisfaction guaranteed. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
6 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 71 degrees and a cloudy day. Latest traffic report and a weather forecast in 5 minutes. Today in Tennessee, a small plane crashed in Williamson County this afternoon in the area of Bending Chestnut Road and Davis Hollow Road. 3 people died in that crash. The debris field right now half-mile long. Search and rescue still ensuing. Multiple people have called officials finding parts in their driveways and yards. Most of it is in a wooded area. The NTSB did confirm that the aircraft is a Beech V-35. They're the ones handling the entire investigation. The plane was leaving Baton Rouge and was en route to Louisville, Kentucky. Some pieces of that plane did hold completely together. Officials have asked that if you find debris on your property to call police. Road closures in that area will be ongoing until tomorrow. And it's unknown when those identities of those killed will be released, but the families have been notified. Election 2024, President Biden and former President Trump have accepted an invitation from CNN to debate on June 27th on ABC on September 10th. Biden issued the challenge in a 14-second venue to social media this morning, but he wants the debates on his terms, meaning he wants only certain media outlets to organize them instead of what has been tradition dating back to the 1980s.
The Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates has hosted every fall face-off between the major party candidates since Bush and Dukakis debated in 1988. That's 9 cycles of American presidential elections. But now the Biden campaign says that model produces noisy spectacles. And rather than 3 debates before audiences, Biden wants just 2, held in otherwise empty TV studios. For his part, Donald Trump tells Fox News he accepts Biden's challenge.
And now over back in Tennessee, homelessness in the state. Numbers from Metro government show that the numbers of people experiencing chronic homelessness in Nashville has risen 43% to more than 1,400 people. That's a rise from a little more than 1,000 people. This comes after in 2022 when Metro Council members approved of using $50 million in American Rescue Plan funding to address homelessness across the city. The Office of Homeless Services says that the report that homelessness is rising is false and that it's really just more data collection. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a Guaranteed Offer and start packing.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. It's time for our fourth hour here on The Drive. We've got a lot of stuff to cover here in the last hour before we hand it over to Mark Levin at 7 o'clock after the news. So buckle up, everybody. Here we go. The big news today, of course, is that that Trump and Biden, I got to admit, I'll tell you when I'm wrong. I was wrong. I didn't think there was going to be a debate. I didn't think that it was really in Joe Biden's best interest to debate, but there's going to be a debate. There'll be two of them at least, the way it sounds right now. One, June 27th, CNN, Jake Tapper, Diana Bash will moderate as Trump and Biden face off in a studio with no audience. That'll be sort of antiseptic. This will be reminiscent of the Kennedy-Nixon debates, except it'll be in color. Remember the Kennedy-Nixon debates? You know, I was a baby. I was just a child. I have this weird memory of my parents watching it. And that I had this strange memory of turning toward the TV and watching when Kennedy was talking and turning away when Nixon was talking.
It was probably the accent. You heard Kennedy's accent, you're like, whoa, that sounds strange.
I don't know what it was. No, I mean, they're very famous when you study debates. Apparently Nixon did not look good. He was sweating profusely. He didn't have makeup on, and Kennedy came in with makeup and knew a little bit more about how to use television. He trounced Nixon in the debate. People who heard it on the radio thought Nixon won. People who saw it on TV thought Kennedy won. Isn't that interesting? There's a very interesting case study in debates, but it'll be just in a studio, two cameras or several cameras, two moderators, and then just Trump, just Biden, no RFK Jr., no third-party candidates of any kind, and we're on. It's going to happen. This all, look, Trump had already said, anytime, any place, anywhere, come on, Crooked Joe, let's do it. And Biden accepted today.
Donald Trump lost two debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Make my day, pal.
Make my day, pal. What is that right?
Well, make my day, pal.
I will just isolate that one for later. Okay, we need to make sure that we save that. Okay, so what will happen? Well, it's going to be, one of the rules are going to be very different. They have some very strict rules about how they want this thing to go forward. Mostly being driven by Biden. See, they didn't want to go to the Presidential Commission on Debates, or the Commission on Presidential Debates, I think it's called, CPD. They didn't want to do with them because they felt like, well, and listen, I think it's a fair judgment by both sides that it was a zoo. First of all, they wanted debates in October, and as it's been pointed out, in October, a lot of people have already voted because of early voting and mail-in voting and all of that. So they wanted to have it in a timely way. They didn't want the audience because they thought it was distracting. They agreed to that. And they felt like the Commission on Presidential Debates had not done a good job in enforcing the debate rules. So there you go. That's why they are no longer doing the commission debates. They're doing their own independent debates. Here is... I have another story here. Let me see. I'm just trying to find it, where they talk about the ideas of why they wanted all these rules. I think really basically Biden wanted the rules because he's weak in a crowd. It's distracting. He didn't want the microphone on, for the other guy while you're talking, understanding that if you did that, then you could be interrupted. Last time he got irritated when Donald kept, doing the sort of little jabs right in the middle of what he was trying to say. Said at one point, would you just shut up, guy? So anyway, I think that's all good and fun, and we'll look forward to that. I don't know why Biden agreed to it. You know who else doesn't think it was a good idea? Nancy Pelosi was caught in the hallway by the folks over at CNN.
I myself would never recommend going on a stage with Donald Trump, but the president has decided that's what he wants to do. I think the format he is suggesting is a good one. I think you all should have separate town hall meetings with them, let them challenge them with questions about the future, and let the public make its decision.
At CNN, they said also, of course, they're very excited about this, that their word was going along for some time. The negotiations in the works for some time. And basically, the folks over at Biden and campaign felt like we're going to have to do something. There's no way we can avoid this.
Behind the scenes, the Biden campaign realized, I'm told several weeks ago, they knew they had to debate. A sitting president in, a strong position might try and hold off on this, but that is not where Joe Biden is. They realize that. Yeah.
Look, I'm telling you, I think what they're doing is they're panicking. I think the Biden campaign is panicking. I think they thought they would have this guy put away by now already, and that the numbers would be overwhelmingly in their direction. But that's simply not been the case. I mean, the numbers have started to look, and the battleground states especially, have started to look quite good for Donald Trump. And you know what changed it? I've got it buttoned down now. I'm pretty sure I know what was the thing that sort of was the stupid move made by the Biden administration that sort of changed people's position that might have been on the bubble. You know what it was? The Biden administration's waffling, their inability to stand strongly with Israel and to try not to offend all of the young people who are out there protesting on college campuses about, Hamas and Palestine, free Palestine, from the river to the sea, all that stuff. There's a poll out, and I'll read it here in a minute. Let's go to it now. Battleground poll. Listen to this. This is from a group called Signal, Cygnal. The anti-Semitism underscoring the pro-Palestinian protest turned out to be a rare unifying issue in American politics. A microscopic 3% of battleground voters support the pro-Palestinian protest laced with anti-Semitism. You get that? 3% supported it. 97% were appalled. The Biden administration tried to walk the tightrope. They tried to, say, well, we're a friend of Israel, but, there's some positions that you need to understand about the situation. They tried to be sympathetic to the plight of the Palestinians and said that the people on the college campuses, were expressing their free rights. And then they tried to walk a tightrope, and they should have clearly been on the side of Israel and should have immediately come out and condemned the protest, but they were afraid they're going to lose some young voters, which is a constituency that they're losing. So in an attempt to try to placate both sides, they offended a tremendous number of people. I mean, when have you ever seen 97% of the American electorate agreeing on anything? Well, they didn't like what they saw on the college campuses, and they didn't like that the Biden administration was trying to play nice with them. Here we go. What else from that? See, this is a very interesting poll. Here's 6 things that this poll uncovers. Trump's job approval rating is 48%. But according to their polling, Biden's at 37%. By more than 10%, Trump leads in job approval. Among key voter groups like college-educated women, married women, and black voters, Trump's approval has also jumped up 5%. That's impressive. Over 80% of voters oppose the pro-Hamas protests occurring on college campuses across the country. Only 3%, mostly comprised of young liberal Democrats, support the protest calling for the death of Jews. 82% support police clearing them out. A majority of black voters now see the Democrat Party. This is unbelievable to me. I mean, this is truly something is going on in America when this happens. Majority of black voters now see the Democrat Party as more extreme than Republicans. Overall, voters' views that Democrats are more extreme has increased 5% since January. The Biden campaign's attacks on RFK Jr. appear to have their intended impact. 3% of voters have shifted away from RFK Jr. and now say they will definitely support Biden, but the full head-to-head presidential ballot matchup still has Trump leading Biden by 2 percentage points. In their polling, it is Trump 47, Biden 45. Inflation and the economy regains prominence as the top issue. 26% of the people who were polled believed that the economy was the most important issue. Border security was at 25, very close behind. But if the Democrats think the abortion issue is going to be the one that changes things for them, only 7% of those surveyed in this survey believe that abortion is the issue that is going to be primary in voters' minds. It's a tertiary issue, particularly among single women and Democrats since March. Voters overwhelmingly reject, 61% of them do, the Biden administration's changes to Title IX, which we talked about earlier in the program. This idea that men who identify as women should be able to play on the athletic field against biological women. That's what they're trying to do with Title IX right now, and 61% reject it. See, those positions, I think, are not in sync and with the mainstream of America. Republicans were always going to vote for Donald Trump, largely, and Democrats largely were going to vote for the hardened core. They're going to vote for whatever the Democrat Party puts up. It's these people in the middle, and you've got to identify them. And on issues like the protest on college campuses, the Biden administration was out of sync with the mainstream. On Title IX and all the things they're trying to do with that, changes to EEOC rules, etc., they're not in sync with the mainstream of America. And it's going to cost them. It's going to cost them. Quickly, a couple, 2 or 3 little things I want to throw into the hopper as we're talking about the election. Ohio has ordered the purge of ineligible voters from state voter rolls after finding 137 non-citizens registered to vote. Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose has ordered an expanded effort to purge the state's voter rolls of ineligible voters after an investigation by his office found 137 voter registrations assigned to individuals who aren't allowed to vote in U.S. elections. LaRose issued a directive ordering Ohio's 88 county boards to launch a confirmation and removal process of ineligible individuals from the state's voter registration rolls. See, that's the first step into voter integrity, is making sure that the rolls are accurate, that dead people aren't there. People who have moved out of state are not on there. People who are not eligible to vote because they are not citizens are not on the rolls. Take care of that first. That's job number one, and I hope that other states will follow suit. And then, again, from Signal, they point out that black voters are fleeing Biden and Democrats over inflation and extremism. They can't get by. Many are complaining that they just can't make ends meet. And then they look at the Democrat Party as not in sync with their values at all. Too extreme. Too extreme. 20 minutes now past the hour.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It's 24 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. Every once in a while, you when you're out there, I spend about 3 hours a day going through a proprietary list of websites. It's exclusive to the Drive. We use this proprietary algorithm.
Sounds high tech.
No. I wouldn't know an algorithm if it bit me on the butt.
It's math, Brian.
I know. I like the people, but let's just assume for a moment we have this proprietary algorithm, and I go through and I search all these different websites, and every once in a while, I sort of get drawn into a story that I don't know. I say this is just, it's weird. It's news of the weird. Ooh, that's good. I asked you to find some weird music. What is this? You got to give me the.
It's proprietary, Brian. I can't discuss it.
Well, that's news of the weird music, and here we go. This is from Madison, Wisconsin. I'm going to take you back to September 3rd of 1989. The Madison Police Department is called because some workers are tearing down an old music store called Good and Loud Music. They're getting ready to turn it into some kind of other business. And while they're going through, they find a sort of a chimney, a big pipe chimney that runs up through the store. And as they're tearing down the chimney and removing the chimney, they find skeletal remains inside. That's weird. So they had no idea. Who is this person? Why were they inside the chimney? The person was between the ages of, they said at the time, 18 and 35, 5 feet 7 inches tall. Say that there was no way he could have gotten into the pipe on his own. So apparently placed there by someone. So they have done a DNA test, and they have now identified the individual. They finally been able to figure out, after all these years, it was 34 years ago. They are now able to tell that this person's name is, let's see, I got it right here, Ronnie Joe Kirk, born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in 1942, was adopted, and apparently that was part of the problem that made the genealogy work a little more difficult. They say that in such unique cases with adoption and multiple generations of different marriages, it's hard to try to track people down once you do get sort of a hit on their genealogy or they get a good DNA read. They worked off a single hair. All this time, for 34 years, they took a single hair and were finally able to develop a DNA match that they could go up against and identify the individual. Took a long, long time. And yet, they don't know exactly how this person ended up there. They don't know anything about, how this all might have happened. They don't know anything about how long he was in there, how long he was missing. Seems to be sort of a real question. And even that's not the weirdest thing about this particular case in the news of the weird. They do not know his approximate age or when he died. They're still trying to piece together why he was in Madison, Wisconsin. And at the time he was found, investigators noted that he was wearing what was thought to be a dress.
That's another twist.
Yeah. You didn't see that one coming, did you?
Not.
And an Iron Cross necklace. The music store where Kirk remains was torn down years later, turned into a coffee shop. Now that they have the man's name, they're hoping that people across the country who may have known about this individual, whose name was Ronnie Joe Kirk, born in 1942 in Tulsa, will come forward to investigators. Someone will remember him, and we'll do everything we can to try to trace down if he worked here, if he lived here, or if he was just passing through. We don't know. And that brings to a conclusion today's edition of News of the Weird. I need a little news of the weird.
That would be good.
A little echo. We'll work on that. Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, Wisconsin connections or something. They will figure that. I mean, how weird is that? Found in a chimney. They call him Chimney Doe. Instead of John Doe, it was Chimney Doe.
That's strange, and they don't know. They identified him, but they still don't know how long he had, like when he disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, how does a person just? I guess you don't know when it happened. You don't know how long you'd been in there. And they can't figure that all out. But remarkable about this story is something that is lost in the story, I think, that this DNA process has gotten remarkably good over the years. 6:30 now on Super Talk. Oh, let me tell you about Eurofix. They have a very different business philosophy. They staff all their locations with more staff than the average auto repair shop, just so they can be ready when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. Hey, it's your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson. Have you ever noticed how hard it can be to get a right now appointment for vehicle repair? Some dealers, it can be more than 2 weeks out just to get an appointment. But not at Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without dealer pricing since 1999. Plus, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and, more importantly, perhaps, the staff to fix your car right now. If you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into the shop, why don't you call Eurofix? Owner Aaron Stokes says, we will never be too busy for our customers. We are there to take their pain away and take it away now. Eurofix repairs all European cars. Eurofix says yes to speedy repairs when others can't or won't. Family owned for 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. It is 37 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, in for the last 22 minutes as we bring you news and information that'll get you home. And I love the fact, that we give you this information and you go home and then you're the smartest person in the house because you've been listening for the last, 45 minutes to an hour, maybe longer. That's our hope. That's our goal.
We can hope.
Yeah, we're doing our best to hope that. I was trying to get this last little bit of information across the goal line. That's why I was a little distracted a moment ago, and I apologize for that. Tomorrow, we will have the trial continuing in New York, the Trump trial. And there is a new development in this that I think is pretty interesting. And it comes from a guy by the name of Robert Costello. Now, listen to this story from the Daily Caller. Former federal prosecutor Robert Costello testified before Congress Wednesday that Michael Cohen, the star witness in the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's case against former President Donald Trump, told him he had nothing truthful implicating Trump of a crime. Okay, you ready? Costello, who advised Cohen when he became the subject of an investigation by federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, told the House Judiciary Select Subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government that Cohen is now on a revenge tour against Trump and lacks credibility. His testimony challenges Cohen, claims that Cohen's made on the witness stand during the Trump trial. Cohen testified Monday that Trump both directed him to pay for a non-disclosure agreement with porn star Stormy Daniels and approved of the plan to reimburse him for the payment, which underlies the falsifying business record charges at the center of Bragg's case. Cohen said on Tuesday that Costello told him that he could set up a back-channel communication with Trump through his friend Rudy Giuliani, and that the jury saw emails the two exchanged where Costello suggested he could relay messages to Trump. Cohen claimed he never told Costello the truth about Trump's involvement in the Daniels payment because he did not believe he could be trusted. Robert Costello has a very, very different opinion about how this all went down. He spoke to the folks at CNN. Here's some of their coverage of it.
I've listened to Michael Cohen stand in front of the courthouse and say things that are directly contrary to what he said to us. My obligation is to bring the truth to both the district attorney and to Trump's lawyers. That's exactly what I did.
Well, Aaron, I called him to talk about what happened in that grand jury room that could have prompted prosecutors to then take a step back and determine if they want to bring back Michael Cohen or some other witness to rebut his testimony. And he described what happened in the grand jury room as contentious at times. He said before his appearance, he had given prosecutors hundreds of documents, but he was only asked about 6 of them. He said he challenged the prosecutor on why these weren't all being admitted as evidence. He said at one point he even looked at the grand jury and told them, he said, you guys need to get all of these documents. And he says that 5 or 6 of the jurors actually nodded in agreement. He tells me that he believes that his testimony absolutely had an impact on the grand jury. And I asked him, well, who is the witness that they could potentially bring in to rebut this testimony. He said it's absolutely not Michael Cohen. And when I asked if there were any other names, he says there's no one. It's impossible to refute what I said. He said he hasn't heard from the district attorney since he testified Monday.
All right, so Cohen is maybe in trouble because Costello is saying that he's not saying the truth on the stand, which, you know, that's the rap against this guy. That's the rap against this guy. He's not truthful. He's a known perjurer. He's a known liar. He says whatever he needs to say at the time that he needs to say it. So Trump attorney Alina Habba was on Fox News today. Now, she is not involved in this particular trial, but she was asked about Costello and whether it changes anything.
You know, I can't speak about the witness, obviously, at this point, even though I would love to, I assure you. But that, you know, with the unconstitutional gag order and my ethics, I'm kind of restrained there. Todd is a great lawyer. I think that he is using and will use anything that we have as evidence of any bias, period, the end. So I think that's important. I think there's another point here, Martha. We have a dual justice system where the gag order applies to one side, us, and only us. There has been no gag order put on their side. They have been free to speak, the prosecution's witnesses, and I can't see how that point could possibly be lost on Americans in an election season 6 months before an election.
Yeah. Now, Cohen is the last witness to testify for the prosecution. And the cross-examination will continue tomorrow, and it's been pretty bloody, been pretty sharp questioning, and they're going to try to get under Cohen's skin. They're going to try to rattle his cage a little bit. That's what you do, and see whether or not they can, you know, trip him up in some of the things that he has already said. But now that you have somebody out there claiming that he is not telling the truth, that he told another story, will Costello be called as a witness unknown by the way of the defense? They haven't proven the case, but that doesn't mean that with this judge and this particular jury from very blue and part of New York that he's going to get a fair outcome in this trial. One way or the other, most legal analysts who've studied this thing in great detail that I respect now say that, you know, really honestly, if you had an honest judge in the case, the judge would call for a directed verdict. You would say, the judge would say, I'm sorry, I've heard the evidence. You haven't proven your case. I'm going to direct the outcome of this case and not the jury. But I don't think that will happen with Judge Juan Merchan. Well, in the time that I have left, I want to talk about this story that I started with today at the top of the show about a new Biden rule that aims to entrench the deep state forever. As it turns out, you know, when Donald Trump was president of the United States, he put into in place for federal workers something known as Schedule F. And it simply was this, that if you were an employee who works for the government that had a direct impact on policy, that you would become effectively an at-will employee, meaning that for any reason whatsoever, you could be fired. And so that was put in place by Donald Trump. The idea was, of course, to try to root out the people in the deep state, these government workers who burrow themselves in, who suck off the teat of the federal government, who basically do not provide anything in the way of real, benefit to the American people, who just become, sort of worthless employees who collect a pay but don't do much. That under Schedule F, their managers could say, I'm sorry, it's not working out for us. This will be your last day. That's, most places, unless you have a contractual, some agreement with your employer, most people are at-will employees in the business world. And that's how you fix problems. The problem is in the federal government, it's incredibly hard to fire a federal employee. Joe Biden wants to change Schedule F and fix it so that any day going forward, any president who comes into office will be unable to go back to Schedule F. From the Federalist, the federal employee dismissal process is broken. Agencies take 6 months to a year to remove poor performers, followed by lengthy appeals that often result in reinstatement with back pay. If the employee wins, agencies must typically cover their attorney fees at rates of $400 to $1,000 per hour. Let me give you an example. The Department of Justice suspended prosecutors who withheld exculpatory evidence from a U.S. senator's defense team. The federal judge overseeing the case said he had never seen such mishandling or misconduct. Nevertheless, the prosecutors appealed and got the suspensions overturned on a technicality. The government restored 2 months of back wages and paid out, you ready, $643,000 in attorney's fees. This dysfunction is all too common. Removing problematic employees is difficult in every federal agency. Just 0.5% of tenured federal employees were fired in 23 for poor performance or misconduct. Survey shows that federal employees themselves object to this system. Half report chronic poor performance in their unit. And most don't believe their agency effectively addresses poor performers. Think about this in your own workplace. You got a guy or some gal that works with you at work and just doesn't pull their weight, is not a good employee on any level, doesn't do the things that you need to do to run a successful business. But you're doing your job and you're having to cover for this person who's, dragging everybody else down. What does that do to morale in your company? You ever worked with someone like that? You say, and the boss won't do anything about it. It's maddening. That's the federal government every day. So President Trump addressed these problems with an executive order creating Schedule F for career officials in policy-influencing jobs. The order made them at-will employees like most private sector workers without removal restrictions. Schedule F gave agencies the ability to effectively and quickly address poor performance or misconduct. At the same time, the order continued protections against politically motivated or discriminatory removals. You couldn't do it for any reason. You had to have a good reason. You had to make your case, but you could be fired. This follows what happens in a lot of successful states. Texas, Florida. They were trying to take this concept that had worked well in state level and take it nationwide. Well, here's the final bit. Despite Schedule F's potential, President Biden revoked it shortly after taking office. His administration has now issued a new rule designed to prevent a future administration from bringing back Schedule F. The new regulation reinforced career employees' removals restrictions and prohibit reclassifying career employees into at-will status. Federal bureaucrats who inject partisanship into their duties will remain hard to dismiss, and so will chronic poor performers. Look, the government is not theirs, it's ours. We are the bosses and they are the employees. But somehow in this system, federal government workers have such protections that the worst of them can never be removed. And if they do remove, it's costly. We need to protect this idea of Schedule F. 50 past the hour. D.T. McCall's is a great company. They've been around here in Middle Tennessee for more than 100 years. They've got 5 convenient locations all across Middle Tennessee. Have you been to one? You really should go buy one and just see all the things they have. You need furniture? Man, they got it. They got all kinds of furniture. Hey, do you need appliances? No problem. They got appliances. You need electronics, a big screen TV, for example. They can take care of you. You need to go out there and buy something for your yard, like a zero-turn mower. Well, they sell the Cub Cadet. I got one from them, and I love mine. In fact, if you were to walk around my house right now, you'd find a lot of things that I got from the folks at D.T. McCall's, and everything I get, I've been very happy with. And by the way, the process was easy. They're going to give you an honest price. They're not going to charge you extra for things like delivery and setup and haul away. So if you're looking for things for your house, Why don't you go by one of their stores, or at the very least, go to their website and take a look at all the things they can do for you and your home. That's dtmccalls.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.